O'Sullivan. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I want to acknowledge the work and the commitment of the local community development programme and projects and the range of services that they have been providing throughout the country over many years. And we know the services, there are some for children, whether it's creches or after schools or homework clubs or one-to-one tuition or back to education. There's a range of services for elderly, for older people, whether it's meals or activities or transport. And they've also been a support and an advocacy for people who are having difficulties, whether it's with housing or with welfare. And they played a major role in employment and in back to employment. That's community services, and then there's also the work that they've done in community development. And over the years, a vast range of experience and skills and insight have been built up. And it's led to people from communities, living in communities, addressing the problems in their communities and being able to solve those problems, all part of participatory democracy. And it's an area that has seen 38% cuts to date. There's a professional relationship with Pobal when it comes to transparency and oversight and tracking outcomes, and that overall aim to tackle poverty and social exclusion through partnership has been progressing. There was a recent midterm review from the Department of the Environment into the local community development programme, and they found that it exceeded its targets in areas that are of high priority for government: education, training and employment. And I know you yourself, Minister, from your own community, you know what disadvantage is like, and you know what community programmes have done to tackle disadvantage and to give hope and to provide motivation. And I acknowledge the big role that you played in the drugs task forces. Now, what's happening now is this programme and these projects are being put out to public tender and to a procurement process. And that could mean that all that experience, all that insight and knowledge may be lost. And conceivably, a company could bid and win a contract for community development without having set foot in that community and without having a base in that community. And there's no guarantee that current services will continue. We don't know what's going to happen to the infrastructure or the employees. So my question is, why is Ireland the only country that has decided in the European Union to privatise community development?
Minister.
Firstly, it's unusual to get an opposition question that is balanced and that acknowledges the provision of community services on the one hand in this state are comparable to anything in any member state in Europe, and on the other hand, as Deputy O'Sullivan says, that community development has been a focus of public policy under successive governments in this country for a very long time. And a decision has not been made, Deputy, to privatise community development in Ireland. There is a very limited area where, for reasons of efficiency and value for money, there will be a very minor aspect of the fabric of community development in this country that will be procured from outside. But the programmes that are there, the programmes will continue, including the programme that you particularly referred to, the drugs task forces, which I established 20 years ago and which has contributed very significantly in the areas worst ravaged by that problem, including yours and mine. And I certainly would appreciate a note from you to tell me in particular what programmes are you concerned about that are being procured from outside? Because
Sorry, would you stay quiet?
Fine, Matty, I will, yeah.
Your person is representing your group.
At the moment, I'd like to hear from the questioner what particular one she's concerned about.
Right. Well, see, if that all were valid, then there would not be the concern and the stress that this is causing to community development and to communities in the country. And I want to look at two in particular. And one is the one in the North Inner City, and they're at a particular disadvantage because they don't have a partnership. So 16 of those projects have come together in a loose alliance, and they are very much afraid of what this process is going to do to them. And the other area are our island communities, because as far as they're concerned, this is going to change. This is going to completely dismantle, and it's going to completely destroy what they have achieved over the years, because currently funding goes directly to the islanders, to the North Inner City, and what's going to happen now is going to go from the communities, and all those years of working could be totally undermined by this new process. And it's going out to for-profit companies, and up to now that has not been the ethos of what community development is about. It's social inclusion, community activation programme that is the buzzword now, but it is not addressing the needs of the communities who are involved. And coming to my question now, Seemingly, this is all based on a particular European directive, 2004-18, to justify this process. However, my understanding is that directive has been repealed, and it has been replaced by a European directive, 2014-24, and that is the current law on public procurement. There are two preambles, 7 and 14, which seem to suggest that member states and agencies and public authorities are free to organise social services in such a way that it doesn't entail these contracts. So my question is, will you at least delay the process and check out those preambles and see, is this process of tendering really necessary? So it's just to ask for a delay to check the new directives.
Thank you.
I will, Deputy. I will. But maybe the partnership areas are different from what you've described in the North Inner City. But my understanding is that the partnerships, for example, can themselves bid in terms of where the contract is put out. In terms of the islands, as it happens, I'm visiting such a situation next week, Aaronmore off Donegal, in respect of an inclusion programme run by my own department to facilitate inclusion by people who haven't had the opportunity to familiarise themselves with digital literacy, and a particular programme has been run by the islands in that regard. And I will raise the particular aspect that you have raised here. It may be different in the non-partnership areas, and I certainly will look at the situation in the North Inner City.
Thank you. That completes